Namaste. It seems like we haven't had a proper breakfast. Namaste. That's more like it. Thank you so much for fighting jet lag and all kinds of things this early morning and showing here up on time for the next session of the political conference. So we start session 3 today with all the more gusto to carry forward the momentum that we've started yesterday to ensure a successful political Hindu conference here at World Hindu Congress 2023. So for this session, we have I would like to welcome our speakers onto stage. Neemalan Karthikeyan ji, Carmela Chand ji, and Shamim Thakur Rajbansi ji. Please come to the stage. So on our panel today, the women outrang the men, and I'm actually very glad to say that. So first up, we have Shamim Thakur Rajbansi ji, who is a leader of the Minority Front political party in South Africa. She is a current member of parliament in the province of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa, and she's been in this position since 2012. Shamim Thakur Rajbansi ji has a bachelor's degree in pharmacy at the University of Durban, Westville, and a master's in business administration at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. She was involved in a pharmacy business for 2 decades before entering politics. So we have a woman in business who's come into politics. She currently represents the interests of the sizable Bharatiya community that we have in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Over to you, Shamim ji. We look forward to hearing you.
Thank you, Rashmi ji. Prem Namaste, Vanakkam, Namaskaram, and all protocols observed. My name, as you heard, is Shamim Thakur Rajbansi. I am a member of the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature, which is based in Pietermaritzburg in South Africa. I have been elected for 5 consecutive terms in the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature from 1999. And I do serve on various parliamentary portfolio committees. I started leading our political party from 2012 after the demise of our leader, Mr. A. Rajbansi. Our party serves all minority communities on the whole. However, specifically, our voter base is the Indian community. Our forefathers came in 1860. So it's 163 years, the 16th of November, when the first ships landed in the Bay of Natal. Today, the Indian community is 6th generational. I'm 3rd. My grandfather came from UP, and he worked as a coal miner. Others worked in the sugarcane fields, railways, and harbor. The Indian indentured laborers saved the colonized South Africa from economic collapse then. Given this history, our struggles have been long and hard, unlike the trader class experience. Today, we are economically a strong group, mainly middle and high income, with a fair percentage of people still poor, a major reason for conversions. Our party works with the grassroots community, ensuring our identity is intact culturally, religiously, and socially. To this end, we need more assistance to strengthen the Hindu political impact in order to uphold Hindu interests in the African subcontinent. African countries have been most pleased since the September G20 declaration in New Delhi, where the African Union has now been included in the BRICS countries. And this is a turning point for Bharat to use the African Indian diaspora to strengthen political ties in all countries through soft power mechanisms. I met a gentleman yesterday who is a real Bharatiya warrior, showing interest to teach culture to African children, and he was asking for my help. This is the value of conferences like this. This is one way, but he needs local Indians to make inroads, especially in African countries. This means developing strong relationships with the diaspora in the following ways so that there's mutual benefit for everyone. Firstly, networking methods with individuals, groups, organizations, both government and non-government and business. Then exchange programs such as the KIP program, which currently is in place. But of course, we do need other work exchange programs. We need to create a council of Indian diaspora MPs and MPLs. This is another way of how we can get like-minded people coming together and sharing ideas, best experiences in our own countries, our own governments, and seeing how we can help each other to fill the gaps. Using BRICS, of course, to commemorate the 16th of November for Indian indenture. So in each country, whichever day is the day that a country commemorates Indian indenture, Bharat should have a very active role in this, because this shows the value of our forefathers. Of course, providing subsidies for Hindus, especially for the poor. Yesterday, a gentleman mentioned something very important. He said the Char Dham Yatra, and this is a great idea. I've always been thinking about this because so much is being done to the dhams. There's so much of improvements, and I think that it's about time we started these yatra programs, and this is one way in keeping the diaspora in contact with Bharat. Then working on work permits. This is another area for Indian expats in areas of tailoring and crafts, like some of Bharat's neighbors are doing. In our country, for example, currently, there's a lot of neighboring people from other countries, Bangladeshi, Pakistani, and from other countries that come in, and they don't come in for the high-end jobs. They come in for the run-of-the-mill jobs, like tailoring, barber, those kinds of jobs. But those are the networking types of businesses. So it's not always the high-end. The high-end, you're meeting just a few of the elite in a country. This level, I see that a lot of our people are then having to support these businesses, and actually those sort of FDIs or return of investments in those countries improve. And I think that there's no better time than for us to make these changes. Of course, propagating Hindu faith-based private schools. This is a way to go. Many countries are adopting Vedic school systems, and I think countries in Africa need those faith-based schools because we have a proliferation of other faith-based schools which our governments are supporting in the African continent, but not Vedic schools. And we need those kinds of enabling mechanisms from the side of Bharat to engage, especially our retired teachers who have nothing else to do. And instead of giving extra lessons, they should get together and start schools like this, which other countries are doing. In our country, one of the famous schools that have come is Turkish schools. Our children who go for sort of a cultural school and don't want to go, say, to an Islamic school or a Christian-based school, prefer to rather go to the Turkish school, but it's mandatory for them to learn Turkish and to go on an exchange program to Istanbul, etc. So I don't see why, we are lagging and Bharat is not taking this opportunity in countries where there are large diaspora and expats. Then, of course, giving dual citizenship for the OCI cardholders. I think that's one of the biggest cries in our country, so I'm sure it's in the rest of Africa and other diaspora nations. And then to create scholarships in Ayurveda and yoga studies. I think that these are two key areas. This is Bharat's soft power. And even in South Africa, you'll find yoga is being propagated by, for example, a lot of white people are doing that. They understand the value of it, but remember, they have the economic base to do it. They have money power. And a lot of the Hindus don't have that kind of money power. And they've got to come to India, and you'll get one or two teachers coming, going back and trying to do something. But I think that it's a lost opportunity if we don't take up these simple opportunities. The other is tackling food labeling, and this is in terms of policies and regulations, and for Bharat to fast track the Jhatka and the Shuddha label for business interests. And that is because if you think halal is an issue in India, it's a worse issue in South Africa. It just got regulated and became a policy in our country last year. I tried very hard to sensitize the government that it shouldn't be done for the very same reasons that is now happening in places like UP, etc. But I had started this fight in Parliament last year. And now you have a particular community that then wants the resources. That means they want the agricultural land now, they want a whole lot of things, and they're giving job opportunities to only certain people who can perform these kinds of activities, and it's not Hindus. But it's a way to definitely get Hindus to convert if they wanted a job. So these are the dangers of a thing like food labeling. And if we don't get our food labeling right quickly, we're going to lose time. And then, of course, creating an IPA, that means an Indian Parliamentary Association, like you have the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, and then taking this IPA to all countries where Indian MPs are. And this will motivate young people, young Indian people, to join politics in their own country and to strengthen political ties between Bharat and their country. The choice of diplomats, of course, to African countries must match the local population demographics. For example, in Durban is a major city. It has a huge diaspora population. And for the last 2 terms, we are getting consulates coming in, but those consulates are Christian, and yet they're serving mainly a Hindu population. Now, I know my time's up. I was told late last night, I have a lot of ideas, a lot of other ideas, but I think I'll get it typed up and sent to yourself, Rashmi, so that these things can be taken up and we can strengthen ties with the African continent, and we'll really be very happy to contribute in any way that we can. And I want to thank you for organizing this conference, and I do want to take this last opportunity to thank the Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji and Minister Jaishankar for always coming to South Africa and making the time to actually meet our diaspora and discuss issues. It's the first time it's being done, and we really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shamim ji. Next up, we have Neemalan Karthikeyan ji come up to speak to us about the maximization of the Hindu political impact. Neemalan ji counts over 25 years of experience in corporate and non-profit sector and with the intergovernmental sectors, including cross-functional roles in transnational environments in South Asia, Malaysia and Australia. He has an MBA from the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura in Sri Lanka and a postgraduate diploma in marketing from Chartered Institute of Marketing, UK. Currently, he works for a federal government agency, serves as a board member of UN Association of Australia, ACT branch, and capacity development advisor for indigenous organizations in remote NSW, Australia. He also served as chief of staff to the Chief Minister, Northern Province, Sri Lanka, to develop a roadmap for post-war transition. Over to you, Neemalan ji.
பாலும் தெளிதேனும் பாகும் பரப்பிமிவை நாளும் கலந்துனக்கு நான் தருவேன் கோலஞ்செய் துங்கக் கரிமுகத்து தூமணியே எனக்கு சங்கத்தம் ஒன்றும் தா. Chairperson Rashmi, distinguished invitees, Mr. Chakravarti, leader of Tamil Nadu BJP, Mr. Thundaman, Governor of Eastern Province, brothers and sisters. In terms of my presentation, what I thought was Can you hear me now? Good. In terms of my presentation, what I thought was I would like to share with all of you some ideas within the scope of the theme provided to me on maximizing Hindu political impact. So in doing so, what I would like to do is I would like to adopt a pragmatic, a logical, as well as context-specific approach with regard to the countries in which we are residing as members of the diaspora. As for me, I reside in Australia. As a speaker introduced me, I have done some work in specific areas of human endeavors, particularly with regard to transition initiatives, meaning changes in situation where people go through in order to re-establish lives and restore normalcy. Whether it is a case of the Ceylonese Tamils in their context, or indigenous communities, or in Melanesia in Solomon Islands, where I have been exposed to. Now, with regard to these aspects, I think I will be failing in my duties if I don't flag a very important historical note. I thank the organizers, particularly Swami Vigyananda Ji and his very dynamic team, for naming this hall as the Arumuga Navalar Forum. For the benefit of those of you who may be aware or may not be aware, it would be very pertinent to know about who he was, the times during which he lived, what was his unique contributions. Saint Arumuga Navalar was born in Jaffna in 1822. It was the peak of the British Empire, and particularly in the Jaffna Peninsula, the ravages of Christianization was phenomenal. He was a social reformer, in my opinion, a strategist, a great learner of the people. Above all, he had a unique foresight as to what should be done. Just to put it in a nutshell, he began teaching in one of the leading Christian schools in Jaffna, Central College Jaffna, in the 1830s. He mastered the Bible, taught Christianity. He also translated Bible into Tamil. He was able to understand the Christian missionaries' mindset in its totality. He knew what they were up to. He didn't confront them face to face. He was strategic. He learned the art of their engagement and applied it back on them. He went to the extent of translating important historic Hindu literature and scriptures into basic Tamil language in a way the layman would understand that. So that's how he brought about a religious renaissance. And he also emphasized the importance of grassroots education in terms of Sunday schools as well as advocacy. He went to the extent to collaborate with then Madras Principality in order to start a printing press. So that is the extent to which he expanded, and it was the collaboration he had with the Bharat that enabled him to perform his work effectively. So I thank the organizers for looking at it. Now I'll come to the subject matter. How I'm approaching this topic is, with regard to maximizing Hindu political impact, I would like to adopt a more pragmatic and an effective way of engagement in the societies we are in. Number one, what is important is one needs to be aware of his or her focus in terms of, as of Hindu, what is it that you believe in, what drives you, what you believe you want to achieve. One has to have a clear picture in his or her mind. You cannot chew more than what you can bite. So one has to be focused and specific. In my case, when I look at it in the Australian context, where I have been more or less internalized over a period of 12 years, I look at it in a different way. We are, in terms of numbers, we are part of the body politic of Australia. But one has to understand each of us are part of the greater microcosm of Australia. So if it is so, what are the areas one can make a difference? So you need to identify the niche in which you can operate effectively based on your core competences. Now, when I come to that, I would like to emphasize the point. What do you believe in? What is your calling? What is it that you want to do? How would you practice the Hindu faith? One has to understand in terms of practical realities. It is also important, one needs to be clear of the societies in which one operates. So that's one important point. Then comes the context. Now, before I pursue further, our Hindu philosophy and Vedanta is quite broad. It's a vast ocean. All of us cannot be scholars, but we need to be clear as to how we project ourselves and position ourselves. Now, to me, personally, in the engagements I have had, particularly in the Australian context, one of the important things that has come up very frequently in my interactions was the caste system. There again, I go back to the Tirukkural by the Saint Thiruvalluvar, which is a unique piece of Tamil literature and philosophy, where he speaks about the caste in a beautiful way. Pirappokkum ella uyirkkum sirappokkum seidolil vetrumayar. All human beings are equal at birth, but they differ through their actions. So that very succinctly captures the essence of some aspects of our Hindu philosophy. Then yesterday, the RSS leader, I'm sorry, his name is not coming to my mind, he made a very important point of Hindu Vedanta principle in a nutshell. I was really honored and privileged as well as to listen to him. He said, Alukkaru, Ava, Vahili, Innachol, Nangum, Ilukka, Yendrathu Aram. That very succinctly captures the Hindu philosophy. Right? Alukkaru, jealousy, Ava, yes, Vahili, Innachol, the language what you use in terms of use. The jettisoning all these things relates to Aram, practice of Dharma. I think that captured very beautifully. So one needs to be aware of it. More importantly, you have to walk the talk. Your actions matter most than what you say. It is the final delivery that would be taken into account. Now I will come to the situation of the context where you operate. In each country where we are as Hindus, we have migrated. Each country has its ethos of the concept of democracy. In Australia, we believe in 4 important cardinal principles. 1, we believe in the active and engaging role of a citizen. Number 2, we believe in a fair and equitable society. Number 3, we believe in free and fair and franchise elections. Number 4, we believe in the rule of law. In the eyes of law, whether Nimalan Karthikeyan or Prime Minister Albanese are equal. It will take its course. So one needs to understand the context in which the country operates. Then you have to, having taken the politico-legal context, You also have to take the religio-cultural, social context. If the majority language is Christianity, understand the context of the Christianity and the evolution of the society in those countries. That will give you the context. So in this sense, we as Hindus, how could we make a difference? One has to take a more interfaith approach in such instances. What are the principles in which are captured in the Bible, whether it's Genesis or the other chapters, which relates to our context in the Hindu philosophy? So in my interactions, I take part. In fact, finally at this stage in my career, I'm studying Bible because I really want to understand what is it conveys which is not found in our Hindu scriptures. So that way you are able to make a difference and weave a common thread, identify common ground as you could move forward and thereby position your religion, your context of faith. Other aspect what I would like to share with you is, now, in the context of each country, they are members of the United Nations. That means each country is a signatory to certain international covenants and principles. For example, International Covenant on Social and Economic Rights, International Covenant on Political and Civil Rights, International Covenant on abstaining from all forms of violence against women, the Convention of Genocide, quite a lot of those aspects, and see how they are being practiced. And in these instances, the countries are responsible, the government of the day need to have the required policy framework and the governance structures to implement them at grassroots. So you need to have an appreciation of that. Once you are aware what your environment is, you are in a better position to position yourself. The last one that I would like to say is, it is a case of you being a member of the Hindu society. You need to understand your own community well. You need to be an advocate. You need to be a mobilizer. You need to be a social reformer. You cannot replicate and live the way you lived in your country, in the host country. We have to come to terms with certain aspects. But it doesn't mean that you have to give up your individuality and the faith. Finally, let me conclude by citing two interesting quotes which really influences me in my thought process and actions. Number one, I came across this particular quote. It's an American philosopher by the name of Samuel Smiles. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. Now, finally, I would like to conclude another interesting quote by an American author, by Beth Mendes Connor. Life is a book. Life is a book. You are its author. You are its author. You determine its plot and content, and only you can turn its pages. I wish all of you all the very best in all your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nimalanji. Next up, we have Karmila Chand. Karmila Chand represents the Hindu Youth Australia as a senior youth coordinator. She has been involved in developing and facilitating workshops for young Hindus in Australia with a vision to discover, unite, and lead. Karmila serves the wider multicultural and multilingual Australian community as an ambassador for the New South Wales Community Language Schools program. Aside from delivering outcomes for youth and language, she works as a policy officer for the state government of New South Wales in strategic and environmental intergovernmental relations. She's also a Karyakarta of the Hindu Political Conference, one of our youngest, and she's been instrumental in putting together this conference. Please give it up for Karmila Chand.
Namaste. Let's zoom out a little bit. Hindu continuity in politics. For lack of a better way to depict this, if this curve represented the amount of Hindu representation in politics over time in one country, pick any country, I would love for it to look something like this, increasing exponentially. Or even this, a plateau, but still consistent representation of Hindus in politics over time. But a lot of times it looks more like this. And I've certainly exaggerated that, but that's really how it feels. We are faced with the critical challenge of sustaining political representation for Hindus globally. While we've witnessed commendable achievements of Hindus reaching top positions in various political spheres, these victories often stand alone as isolated historical events. It is one thing to get representation, it is another thing to sustain it. The core problem lies in the absence of a consistent trend of political representation for the Hindu community, one that doesn't stop at an individual, but empowers and supports an ongoing flow of Hindu leaders to sustain the momentum that has been built. Why doesn't this currently happen? I'm actually not exactly sure, but potentially we lack the vision to leverage the success of individuals of our community as a shoulder to lean on. And we lack that vision to propel the next generation of Hindu political leaders. Do we create our own inertia, perhaps? The implications of this are far-reaching. Without sustained representation in politics, we risk there being consistent advocacy and influence at a governing level of policies that affect the Hindu community. The long-term narrative of Hindu contributions and Hindu presence in society may be at risk of being silenced or manipulated, especially where there could be anti-Hindu politicians who, through their positions of power, are actively distorting this narrative. If we don't have continuous and active representation, the Hindu community could be excluded in political decisions, which can have implications from a resource allocation perspective, community development, and of course, overall societal well-being. And we have already seen this, unfortunately. In extreme cases, the absence of a strong and ongoing political presence can even contribute to a decline in the Hindu population, and we have also seen this, unfortunately. Importantly, the absence of continuous representation in politics is already resulting in a pattern where lone Hindu politicians are limited to one term and their voice in the Hindu community leaves with them. We celebrate individuals when they make a name for themselves, but the lack of continuity and support in maintaining this is a true concern. Unfortunately, if Hindus aren't represented in politics term after term, how can we be represented anywhere? How can we safeguard our interests? Let's take Fiji, for example. Fiji experienced a quasi-apartheid situation. Due to the laws established by the colonial era, there became two classes of citizens, native Fijians and the Indo-Fijians. I'm going to put a caveat around this, being a Hindu with Fiji heritage myself, and that is that the Hindu identity is incredibly diluted within this all-encompassing and commonly accepted identity of being Fiji Indian rather than Hindu. This is, of course, a discussion of its own. However, majority of the Indo-Fijian community has to date been Hindu. So I wanted to provide that clarity. So, as a result of these two classes, native Fijians dominated politics at the expense of the Indo-Fijian community, which at the time, this Indo-Fijian community made up 40% of the population. Hindus were denied land and propriety rights, and this created an unworkable system when it came to elections. Even when there came a government supported by the Hindus, it was disrupted by a coup. A second coup took place, and approximately 30 to 40,000 Indo-Fijians fled the country. And again, by 2000, a democratically elected government supported by the remaining Hindu community, Mahendra Chaudhary, was also overthrown in a third coup. This political unrest has led to the confiscation of basic human rights to all Hindus in Fiji, many making the difficult decision to emigrate, including my own parents. So what can we see is the wider Hindu community suffering as a result of an absence of not political representation, but sustained political representation. Now let's look at another case study that demonstrates an evolution from where Fiji has been. Bharatiya Tamil Hindus of Sri Lanka are an example of a community who managed to go from being stateless to being influential in every Sri Lankan government. The Ceylon Citizenship Act of 1948 and the Indian-Pakistan Citizenship Act of 1949 denied Sri Lankan citizenship to an overwhelming number of Bharatiya Tamil Hindus of Sri Lanka. Both the Sinhalese majority and the Sri Lankan Tamils agreed to do this as Bharatiya Tamil Hindus were largely unionized plantation workers and they were perceived to be Marxists. Despite this, Soumyamurthy Thondaman, the leader of the Ceylon Indian Congress, won his seat during this time and was the sole representation of Bharatiya Tamil Hindus. How did this happen? He cleverly positioned himself. He opposed the Citizenship Acts, but he backed various different Sinhalese political parties, gradually working with successive Sri Lankan governments to enfranchise the community while building their trust through active advocacy. I, of course, won't elaborate too much further as we have the Governor of Sri Lanka who will be speaking later today, and I'm sure he has a lot to say on a similar vein to this, so I'll leave the rest to him. But to this date, now the Ceylon Workers' Congress continues to be a part of every Sri Lankan government, giving all Bharatiya Tamil Hindus a voice. Missing slides? Oh, no, I'm not missing slides. So what are the learnings and how do we apply them globally to maintain Hindu political continuity? While I don't have the answers, I wanted to pull out some of the themes that stood out to me. Be proactive, empower each other, and have a long-term vision. From the point of view of a Hindu leader operating within the political sphere, active advocacy is necessary, and it's often a case of working smarter instead of working harder to champion the needs of community and build diplomatic relationships in doing this. Holding an aggressive position, while at times is important, risks putting oneself in a vulnerable position and an isolating one, and that shuts down chances of sustaining this seat at the table over time. This doesn't mean concealing the Hindu identity or Hindu needs, not at all. Elected representatives must demonstrate action for the Hindu cause and ensure it is serving the needs of the community. This also helps to avoid these isolated case scenarios, as it creates an organic support system for the leader and potentially empowers community members to follow in their footsteps. You can't be what you can't see, so be what the people want to see. This energy can catalyse a new generation of leaders stepping up to the plate and generating a support system through mentorship, succession planning, or other means, enabling budding and established Hindu leaders to thrive from this. This also creates further demand for an ecosystem that can support the continuity of Hindus in politics. It is the job of the Hindu community to come together to enable the development and success of future Hindu leaders at the table. Have a think about how you can contribute to this in your sphere of influence. I'll wrap up by saying that getting people there is half the job. We need to sustain this representation and even increase it if we can. The current and future well-being of the Hindu community is relying on it. Dhanyavadaha.
Thank you, Karmalaji, for that beautiful presentation. Next up, we are going to talk about the transnational Hindu impact and how do we create that. And for this, we have Nitin Jagbandhanji, who is the chairman of the Sanatan Dharm Mahasabha from the Republic of Suriname. Please come on stage. Nitin Jagbandhan is a prominent Surinamese Hindu leader and the chairman of the Sanatan Dharm Mahasabha in the Republic of Suriname. He has been a Hindu priest for almost 25 years and has been actively involved in promoting Hindu dharma and community welfare initiatives. Jagbandhan has addressed worshippers at the Datta Center in Trinidad and has participated in webinars on Caribbean Hindus. He has also worked with organizations such as the Suriname Community Welfare and the Relic Curio Academy. Jagbandhanji's contributions to promoting Hindu dharma and community welfare initiatives have been recognized and appreciated widely within the Hindu community. He's currently a teacher of Hindu dharma at the Ministry of Internal Affairs in Suriname. Over to you, Nitinji.
Hari Om Shvetangam Shvetavastram Sitakusumaganehi Pujitam Shvetagandhaiha Kshirabdhau Ratnadipai Suratar Vimale Ratnasinhasanastham Dorbhi Pashankusheshta Bhayadhriti Vishidam Chandramauli Trinetram Dhyayet Shanthyarthamisham Ganapati Mamalam Shri Sametam Prasannam. प्रेम से बोलिए गणेश भगवान की जय, हिंदू धर्म की जय. Namaskar, good morning everyone. I am Pandit Nitin Jagbandhan, as you heard, the chairman of Sanatan Dharm Mahasabha Suriname. And my topic is creating a transnational Hindu impact. Before I start, I want to tell you also that I'm the policy officer of the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Religious Affairs. And also I am the religious advisor to the President of the Republic of Suriname. And before of this, yes, thank you very much. And just for half a minute, I want to tell you about my organization, the Sanatan Dharm Mahasabha Suriname. Very big organization. We have 15 members in the main board. I have a priest council, a youth council. I have an orphanage, 15 schools, television station. Very big organization. We are the largest in Suriname with approximately 150,000 followers. If you look at my content, I'm going to talk about what do we mean of transnational impact of religion, clarifying that, what's the definition. Second thing is I'm going to give you in a nutshell a religious landscape of Suriname in regional and international contexts with emphasis on Hindus. Next is that I'm going to try to create a frame of the impact from below, and the fourth thing is how to move forward. Okay, I think that we have to be on the same page if we talk about transnational impact of religions. There is not much written about this, but there is one research of Stefan Selka from 2013 from the University of California. And what Stefan Selka says is that transnational impact of religions, it means it's a matter of perspective and imagination. And transnationalism is in the eye of the beholder. So everyone has another concept. There is no consensus about what transnational impact is. There is no one definition. It varies. But it also refers to actual phenomena, materialities, and connections between actual movements, relations between groups. And when we talk about transnational Hindu impact, we have to rethink about our geographical boundaries. And because of that, if we rethink about that, then we will get a better understanding of the transnational spaces that we get. And what's the result of rethinking about our geographical boundaries? We will then obtain insight in connecting mechanisms like structures, limits, limitations, power from below or above, and complexities. And the last thing is that we will understand also the relation between religious practitioners and academics, because the interests of the academics, it's not always the same, the interest of the religious practitioners. Here is a little scope about Suriname. You all know where Suriname is. South America, northern part of Brazil. And you have to know something, we are very unique. Besides Bharat, there are only 4 countries left in the world where Hindi is yet much spoken and written. Fiji, Mauritius, Nepal, and Suriname. So you have to know this. In 2003, the World Hindi Congress was also held in Suriname. I also attended that. So we have 600,000 inhabitants. We're Dutch speaking. We're a former Dutch colony. We have a large diversity of cultures and ethnic groups. And you see, we had a pre-European colonism, indigenous population. We had European colonism from the 7th century till the 20th century. British colonized also, like for 17 years. Dutch colonism from 667 till the independence in 1975. We had also slavery, approximately 250,000 enslaved Africans. Then we had the endangered laborers, 2,500 from China, 33,000 from British India, from which I'm the 4th generation. And we also had 32 laborers from Indonesia. If we look at this religious landscape of Suriname, very in a nutshell, as you see, Suriname, Guyana, and Trinidad, on the basis of the census data, we are the 2nd largest ethnic group in Suriname. And if you look at the ranking of the religious diversity, we are very unique. On the index, Suriname scores number 1 on the regional religious diversity index with a 7.6, and international on the 4th place. So if we talk about religious diversity, we are a big example of that. We are talking about to create a transnational Hindu impact, but what's the most important thing? If we want to do that, we have to have a good religious heritage. Yes, if we have a good religious heritage, then you would be able to create that transnational Hindu impact. And what are the parameters of this religious heritage? The demography, political power, major religious theological perspectives and practices, transnational connections and imaginations, human rights adherence and inter-religious matters, and economic power. Creating a frame of impact from below using Surinamese experience, because I was asked to try to get the model between Suriname and the Netherlands. Because we have a transnational Hindu impact from Suriname to Netherlands, and try to use that model internationally. So positioning religious heritage at center, as Hindus have populated new countries. Caribbean has resulted from colonial projects, a region that is created. Religious identity and practices are dynamic, interact with larger society, and taking localities to transnational spaces require reflection on these dynamics. Therefore, a few factors suggested. If we look at the relation between Suriname and the Netherlands, we have a good cooperation. We have relations between religious and cultural institutions. I also go to the Netherlands every year. And research, there's also research network, but not all are formalized. And what's the aim of this? Enhancing diasporic ties, exchange, strengthening of expertise and materialities. So this is one side of the coin, but we also have transnational relations with the Caribbean, apart from the Netherlands. And we also have good cooperation with Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago, relations between religious and cultural institutions, and the aim is also enhancing ties for preservation of religious identity. I think Mark Ramdin is here, and also Dr. Vishnu Bisram. We went to Guyana and Trinidad like 2-3 months ago, and we were setting up a Hindu diaspora funds, a foundation, Caribbean foundation, to bind all the Caribbean nations in one body, and from that to try to work on the Hindu impact that we want. But also a major thing is that the connections of A and B are not the same, nor do they work in the same transnational space. For example, we were talking about the demography. It's very important. And Hindus in the Netherlands are a demographic minority with links with Bharat. But ambitions and perspectives of Hindus in the Netherlands do not necessarily correspond with Suriname. However, there are some interesting projects where Hindu communities in both nations are involved to strengthen Hindu religious identity. For example, training of pandits, providing religious care to individuals. I see I have 1 minute left. The ties between Hindu institutions in the Caribbean are probably stronger among English-speaking nations than Dutch-speaking nations. But with the Hindu Caribbean diaspora funds, we will try to get better relations with the English-speaking countries. This is my last slide. How to move forward with transnational Hindu impact. At the abstract level, understanding our own context of Hindu religious heritage, because not all the countries have the same context and concept. Second thing is we have to support collaborative networks with careful consideration of interaction with surroundings. And the third thing is empower local initiatives for preserving Hindu heritage, as these contain the basics for transnational connections. And at the empirical level, we have to create platforms for diasporic and regional Hindu institutions for discussing common threats in diverse settings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nitinji. The floor is now open for questions. So please, if you have a question, put your hands up and we will get a mic to you.
Yeah, Ramprashad, Guyana. Namaskar to each and every one of you, especially members of the head table. A quick observation before Nitinji spoke, I made notes on my paper. I was very surprised that this conference at the plenary session was not open by any sort of prayers. That was my first observation as a Hindu conference. And you came and you broke that stigma. The other point, I would love to see Hindus in every political position. But with our experience from Guyana, Hindu politicians sometimes can be inimical to Hinduism. We have had several Hindu presidents, Hindu ministers in government. Right now we have a Muslim president with several Hindu ministers. But sometimes it does not serve the interests of Hinduism. And this is the primary focus of our conference. As Hindu politicians, sometimes in order to be democratic, they choose to be not biased and sometimes ineffective. One Indian politician, Veer Savarkar, said, he's not afraid of Muslims, he's not afraid of the Britishers, but he's afraid of a Hindu who is against Hinduism. And as Ms. Chan said, we need to create our own inertia Gandhiji said, let us be the change we want to see in the world. So as Hindus, we need to awake and arise and do more for ourselves. Notwithstanding, we still need you, the politicians, as Hindus in those positions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes.
So I'm Vipul Patel from Gayatri Parivar, USA. My question to all of you, what can we do to foster this interest in becoming a dedicated Hindu politician from the childhood so that we generate the next generation of politicians?
I will put that question to Shameen-ji.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a key question because it all starts with your household and how your family units function. I can tell you personally for myself, it started with my grandparents because we lived in like a big family system. And, the role of grandparents is to teach their grandchildren about Vedic scripture and to teach you, even from like children's story books on Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, and all that. And then you learn that. And then your grandparents teach you how to pray. They teach you how to become a devotee. And later on, your parents start taking an interest in the schooling system that you have, and in my case, a Western schooling system. But my grandparents' role was always a supportive role in the back, teaching the Vedic scriptures and culture. Putting those two together, the Western education system that we couldn't escape, but at home, having that strong cultural support from my grandparents, it really helped because this two-system education continued and in my mind developed this strong desire for politics from a very young age because I was already reading storybooks, Hindu storybooks. So I understood dynastic systems, political roles, power. I started understanding it from a small child. And in school, that drove me to understanding and already starting to discriminate as to what was right and what was wrong, what was tolerable and what was not, and how to speak up even as a young girl. And I started taking part in debates. And I would always want to debate something that was the losing debate, that nobody else wanted to debate. I would rather take the harder side of the debate and still change it in such a way that I'd win that debate. And then I continuously debated all my school life. And so when I went to university, I wanted to do law because I wanted to be a politician. My dad didn't want me. He didn't think girls should. Not in our apartheid South Africa at that time. And he said, no, I must go into the sciences and, do things that like wouldn't endanger me, and I'd care for people. So eventually I went into pharmacy, but that fire in me to want to care for people and for people's rights, the things that I learned, I wanted to help others with. People that I saw that were vulnerable. And therefore, I started helping people. And eventually, I fought elections because I realized I could sit and make a lot of money in my pharmacy. But people were not sick because they were just really sick. They were sick or had a headache because there were so many social determinants out there in the community that was affecting them. And that's when I started fighting elections to help them. And it was my patients who became my voter base and supported me because they knew if I could care for them in my pharmacy, I would care for them in Parliament. And that's how I've survived politics. So I think that this is like a difficult way, but it's a way that you can, you can make up like a model of how this should be inculcated from childhood. And I believe that anyone who wants to become a politician, the first rule should be that we should actually, in Bharat, we should have a training political school where people from the diaspora should be exposed to this political training school from a Vedic point of view. And anyone who wants to become a politician in their own country, let alone Bharat, must first read the Bhagavad Gita and the Ramayana. And if they can understand that, they can be a very good leader no matter where they are, because leadership is genderless. There's no male leader and female, there's no terminology for it in English. You're just a leader. And so anyone can be it. But you have to be a good leader, you have to be a God-conscious leader.
Nitinji, you wanted to add something?
Yes.
Just switch it on. Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to tell you this thing, that it starts with education of your children. And you have to train your children and tell them that in Hinduism, in Hindu Dharma, everything stands and falls with politics. If you look at the Ramayana, if you look at the Bhagavad Gita, the Mahabharata, it is all politics. And a very major thing is that in our scriptures, it is written, Sachiva Baidha Guruti Nijo, Priya Bolahi Bhaya As, Raj Dharma Tanatini, Hoyahi Begahi Nas. That means that three persons, three disciplines has very great issues. It is very important that you get your study of three things. One is Sachiva, to become a mantri, to become a politician. It's written in our sacred books. Sachiva, Baid, to become a doctor. And Guru, to become a spiritual leader. Everyone has the Atma in itself. Everyone is necessary in this world, but there are three main disciplines in Hindu Dharma that are very important. Yes, the Sachiva, the Mantri, politician, the medicine doctor, and the Guru. So you have to learn this to your children, give them this in the education.
Well, I think if I may add to that, as a young person, I do believe that our community has been through generations of subjugation. So we have internalized the factor that we are to be ruled but not to rule, even if we are capable of doing that job so much better than the ones who are in charge. And the education system does not help, because we are left with an education system that's the remnant of the very colonial system that subjugated us. It takes generations to, break shackles of colonialism even after the physical occupation ends. Studies have said that it takes 3 generations to, come out of that mentality. I am that 3rd generation, and I hope that we make that difference. And I believe that politics, like everything, starts at school. So if you have children, push them to run for class representative right from kindergarten. That's what I did. So that's why I'm able to stand here as the youngest coordinator of the political conference. So push your children, tell them to run for class leader from right when they're in kindergarten, and they will learn the ropes on the go, and be supportive of them no matter what. And your youth will show you what this dharmic community is capable of in your own time. So I would like to conclude on that. We have time for another question, one last question. Okay, we'll do 2 questions. Okay, 3 questions. Very quickly, sir.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak to my learned friends here. I'm Ramesh from Malaysia. What I've been noticing, we have been speaking a lot about Hinduism. We have also been speaking a lot on how to see our future. But what I try to understand here is that the root cause of every problem in every religion starts from the bottom, and not from the top. When young children must be taught on how to understand the religion, but when families are in poverty, you don't have an opportunity to bring the children up to the right level of thinking. So don't you all think that setting up gurukuls around the world where Hinduism is concerned and someone taking a lead to get this group of children at a younger age who do not have the support of their parents come into play, and in future they will actually be our leaders because they have started from the bottom, they understand what it is. We are talking a lot about our religion, we are talking about Hinduism, but if you look at the other religions, they started in a different way. So I think we should come up with a proper concept on thinking how we should take this forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question. Sir.
My name is Sharma Betanapatla. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I'm very much impressed with the concept of the transnationalized linkage. And when you are comparing the Suriname with the Netherlands, what was the outcome? And what was the driver behind that one? How did you do that one? And what are the benefits? Can that be applied to the other places?
Yes, the outcome was good. You know, there is a certain bond between Suriname and the Netherlands. Before the independence, 1975, a lot of Surinamese, including Hindus, they went to the Holland, to the Netherlands. And that bond, the relation was held. And, you know, lots of Surinamese go to Holland, they also come to Suriname. And this is the main thing that held us, that held the transnational Hindu impact. Like the Pandits of Suriname, most of them, every year they go to Holland. They do their religious practices there. Also the Pandits from Netherlands. So I think with collaborative connections between all the countries, now we are setting up Hindu Caribbean diaspora. No? So Guyana told us, we will send our Pandits to Suriname, and if you can train them, you know. So this kind of exchange programs, we have to create them, and this will tie up the transnational Hindu impact. If we could do it internationally like this, set up this kind of platform, then I think then we will get better results.
Thank you. I hope that was, okay, one last question, please.
Namaskara. I'm Preeti Raut from Bharat. See, we have gathered here from around the world for the Hindu Dharma. And we are having our communication in English because we don't have a common language, right? So Sanskrit, it was our original language, and we are just reciting a shloka in Sanskrit. We don't know Sanskrit. Actually, my question, I should ask this to the government of India, but I'm not that big that I can go and ask this question. The thing is, shouldn't we have a dedicated department or a ministry to teach Sanskrit? We have Urdu houses all around India. I don't know about the foreign countries because I'm first time I've come out of the India. So I don't know about the world. But we have Urdu houses all over the India, and we don't have Sanskrit house. I don't know even Sanskrit house we have. Okay. Yeah. So we are spending, government of India is spending millions on teaching or spread of Urdu and not for the Sanskrit. My request is to for me, you are global leaders of Hindu Dharma. Most of the times what happens, we don't value our knowledge or our people. When somebody else from outside recognizes the Indian values or Sanatan Dharma or anything from the Hindu Dharma. After that, Indians start to recognize them or to value them. So I would request to you all to, I'm not very good at English actually, to whatever I want to communicate, like, government should put their efforts, or we should have some ministry or something to spread Sanskrit so that we can spread Sanskrit, right?
Okay.
So what are your views?
Thank you, Ji. Nitin Ji, if
हाँ
you
जी।
could quickly in 1 minute.
हाँ जी,
We're out of
ऐसा है कि
time.
हमें केवल अंग्रेजी पता नहीं, हमें हिंदी भी आती है, और हिंदी हमारी कॉमन लैंग्वेज है। जो आप कह रही हैं उसमें थोड़ी एक कम सच्चाई है। सूरीनाम की बात मैं कहूं कि भारत सरकार अपनी ओर से पूरा योगदान दे रहा है संस्कृत भाषा को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए, हिंदी भाषा को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए। मैं अपनी जो विद्या है मैंने कहाँ पर सीखी? स्वामी विवेकानंद कल्चर सेंटर, जो भारत सरकार की ओर से फंडिंग होता है, न आज से 40-50 वर्ष पहले। तो संस्कृत की पढ़ाई मैंने वहाँ पर की है, प्रोफेसर त्रिलोकीनाथ सिंह। हिंदी की पढ़ाई की है, और अभी एम्बेसडर से बातें हुई है, एक नए टीचर को हम बुलाएंगे भारत से सामूहिक रूप से। तो हिंदी की पढ़ाई, संस्कृत की पढ़ाई जोड़ तोड़ से सूरीनाम देश में चल रही है। मुझे पता नहीं है कि अन्य देशों का हाल क्या है, पर if it is about Suriname, I can assure you that we are working on that. हमारे यहाँ लगभग 60 हिंदी की स्कूलें हैं, और उसके अतिरिक्त एक सूरीनाम हिंदी परिषद है जो भारत सरकार के साथ, स्वामी विवेकानंद सेंटर के साथ हिंदी के प्रचार प्रसार, संस्कृति, नृत्य, गान आदि एक पूरा सेंटर होता है। न केवल पारामारिबो में पर अन्य जिलाओं में भी इनका प्रचार प्रसार होता है। तो मुझे पता नहीं कि अन्य देशों का हालचाल क्या है, पर सूरीनाम में तो काम हो रहा है। भारत सरकार हमें बहुत बहुत योगदान दे रहा है।
Thank you very much, Nitin Ji.
हाँ,
Okay.
बिल्कुल।
Thank-
हाँ, हम लोग के, हम एगो बात बता दें कि हिंदी तो है। हाँ, टाइम्स ऑफ मेरा एक आधा मिनट। हिंदी तो है हमारे यहाँ, हम डच स्पीकिंग है, अंग्रेज भी थोड़ा बोलते हैं, और सभी भाषाओं को मिश्रित करके हमारे यहाँ एक नई लैंग्वेज की उत्पत्ति, जिसे हम कहते हैं सरनामी। तो कि हम लोग बोले लो भोजपुर, जैसे भोजपुर में हम लोग बतियाई लो, हम सोच लो तुम लोग समझत होइए तो थोड़ा मनी।
Thank you very much, Nitin Ji, for ending this session on that light note. I would like to take just 1 more minute to sum up the actionable points of this particular session. I think the Hindu community does have a lot of pain points that emerge from the displacement which happened as a result of colonialism, as a result of indentured labor. And we have been stuck in a cycle of self-created inertia, and every time we've tried to come out of it, the lack of political representation is what has pulled us back and disenfranchised us in the very countries to which we have contributed to and become citizens of in today's day and age. The solution is to work smartly, if I may take a page out of Karmalaji's presentation, and to navigate these circumstances, like how Sir Thondaman did in Sri Lanka, to establish political presence even through very diverse and very adverse situations. So we have examples of people who have worked through adverse situations. They have worked smartly, they have worked around the constraints, and they have emerged successfully. I think we shouldn't be afraid of the challenge that is in front of us, but think of the ways in which we can change this adversity to our advantage and march forward, because that is what the Hindu community is known for since day one. We are not simply called the oldest surviving indigenous dharma in this entire world. We have survived it all, and we will survive it all in the future as well. Dhanyawad.